Let's see how we can easily write RecyclerView adapters that are efficient and also have some nice free animations. The demo app I'm going to be working on is just one that shows a list of beers to the user, which they can then multi-select. Before you get started, make sure you've added the RecyclerView dependency to your build.gradle file. It's just a normal RecyclerView dependency, so nothing too crazy. To get started, I'm just going to add a RecyclerView element to my activities layout, just like you normally would. Next, I'm going to create a layout for my RecyclerView items that I want to show. And it's just going to be a pretty straightforward one that has two text views, sort of a heading and then a tagline underneath. Now we can get to the actual interesting part, which is writing the class. So I'm going to write a new class which extends the list adapter class instead of the normal RecyclerView adapter. You'll notice that it has two type arguments here instead of just one. Firstly, it takes the type of data you're going to be displaying, and then secondly, like normal, it takes the viewHolder type. First, I'm just going to go and implement my viewHolder class, and this is exactly as you would normally write it. It extends the same base class and everything. So I'm just going to add two fields in here, one for each element in my layout. Next, we need to implement onCreateViewHolder, which again is pretty much the same. So I'm just going to inflate my item's layout and then return a new viewHolder object. And we also need to implement Unbind viewHolder, which again is pretty similar, and we can use this nice little getItem function provided by the superclass to get the item at the current position. And from there I'm just going to update the text on my two text views. You'll notice that we still have some red over here, and that's because the superclass's constructor actually needs an argument. So I'm going to go make a new class which extends diffutil.item callback for our data type. In here we need to implement two methods. The first one is are items the same? And here you must just compare the unique ID of the new item and the old item. And for our contents the same, you should compare the items using the .equals method. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how this thing works, but it's basically the class that the adapter will use to tell what has changed in the list, so it can efficiently make the updates. It's very important that you implement these methods correctly, so I do recommend checking the documentation to know what you should do when. And finally, I'm just going to pass a new instance of this class in the constructor, and then all the red is gone now. And now we actually need to use the thing we just wrote, so I'm going to new up the adapter in onCreate of my activity and set it on the RecyclerView. And over here, I'm observing my list, which is a live data object, and then whenever I get an update, I'm just going to call the submitList function on the adapter to update the list that gets displayed, which is really straightforward and it just takes care of everything for us. For demo purposes here, I have an options menu which just has a search item, which will allow us to filter out the item so you can actually see the animations in action here. Alright, let's run the app and you'll see we get a list of beers displayed, which is as expected. And then when we use the search function here, it will filter out items that are not matching. And you'll notice that we also have some nice animations when items are transitioning in and out of view, which is pretty cool. Right, we didn't write any animation code ourselves, we just wrote a few classes and then the list adapter takes care of that for us, which is pretty neat. Now the whole point of using list adapter is to have efficient updates in the list, right? The animations come as a nice little side effect, so don't get too sidetracked with those. But the takeaway that you should have here is that you should never be calling notify dataset changed anymore, because it literally just defeats the whole purpose of using this class. Right, when you need to update the list that's being displayed, just call the submitList function like you saw just now, and this will efficiently go and actually update only what is changed. And you can also invalidate single items if you need to, which I'll actually show you now. So let's go and implement multi-selection on this adapter. I'm going to make a field which just keeps track of the selected items' IDs. And then over here I'm going to change the item's background depending on if it's selected or not. If it's selected, it's going to be sort of a faint blue color, otherwise just transparent. Then when the item is clicked over here, if the item is already selected, I'm going to deselect it, otherwise I will select it. And the important part is over here where we have this notify item changed method, right? This is part of the superclass and you can call this to tell the adapter that one item has changed, so it can only go and refresh that single item, which is really what we want here. So I'm just going to pass through the index of the current item that has changed so it can go and efficiently update it for us, which is pretty neat. So let's just go and run this in the app. Again, we have our list which is displayed, and then when we click one of them, you'll see that it refreshes that one and with a nice little background. And we can multi-select more and we can deselect them again. We can either carry on filtering them out and it'll just still work as expected. And behind the scenes, it's not really that apparent, but again, it's only refreshing what is needed. It's not changing the whole list. So it's quite efficient like that. But that's all I've got, so hopefully you learned something about this. Please do check out the list adapter class and the diff util. Read a bit about them before you just go and use them, because you do need to understand what's going on, but they do make life a lot easier. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and cheers for now.